So how many of you find at least one person on the screen attractive, whether it's James Franco, Mila Kunis, Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Now, how many of you have ever seen someone that you found physically attractive and automatically assumed that that person had a good personality just based off of their good looks? This is known as the halo effect, also known as the physical attractiveness stereotype, in which we automatically assume that someone that's good looking has a good personality. Now, the halo effect is something that we do subconsciously. We never realize that we're doing it, and we do it every single day. And it's important for us to become conscious of when we do this so that we have a better understanding of how we perceive others and how others perceive us. Now, as a member of society, I know I have personally predetermined whether or not I thought someone was going to have a good personality just based off of how attractive I found them. Now, the halo effect is a form of biased psychological evaluation in which we predetermine someone's personality qualities based off of how attractive you find him or her. So first, we're going to discuss a brief history of the halo effect. Second, how it is prominent in everyday life, such as the workplace and as a marketing strategy. And lastly, how we relate to it as students. So first, how did the halo effect come to be? The term halo effect was coined by a psychologist named Edward Thorndike. In the 1920s, he wrote a paper called The Constant Error in Psychological Ratings, in which he discussed an experiment he conducted in the military. In the military, he asked high-ranking officers to evaluate their soldiers in a number of different categories, such as level of attractiveness, level of intelligence, leadership, diligence, basically all of these different qualities that would add up to someone having a good personality. And what he found was that those soldiers who ranked high in levels of attractiveness also ranked high in all of the different levels that would add up to them having a good personality, therefore linking attractiveness with a good personality and high levels of intelligence. And what he also found was that the vice versa was true, that those who ranked really low in levels of attractiveness also ranked really low in all of the different levels that would add up to them having a quote-unquote bad personality. So according to Kendra Cherry, in a 2008 article published in the Psychology Theories Bulletin, attractiveness is one factor that can play a role. When we perceive people as good-looking, we automatically assume that they have a good personality. And so why does our overall impression of a person create this halo that influences our evaluation? As mentioned before, by Kendra Cherry, attractiveness does play a role. However, the halo effect can be a double-edged sword. Although we tend to perceive people as good-looking to have a good personality, we're also more likely to believe that those who are good-looking tend to be more vain, dishonest, and manipulative towards others. So now that you have a better understanding of the history of the halo effect, let's move on to our second point, how it is prominent in the workplace and as a marketing strategy. So like I said, the halo effect is used subconsciously. According to Linda Blair, a clinical psychologist and author, in a 2010 article by Michelle O'Connor, published in the Daily Mail, it only takes us 7 seconds to determine whether a person is attractive, whether or not we think they have a good personality, and whether or not we would want to associate ourselves with them. So when you go into an interview, the employer has already determined within the first 30 seconds of meeting you whether or not they want to hire you solely based off of whether they find you physically attractive and whether or not you would fit the image of their brand. Now, managers and employers are trained to avoid this type of biased approach, but like I said, it's something that we do subconsciously, so it's almost unavoidable. And according to F.W. Schneider, L.M. Coutts, and J.A. Grumman, in a 2010 article published in Applied Social Psychology, in the work setting, the halo effect is probably the most biased in performance evaluations of employees. Like I said, the halo effect is a popular marketing strategy. It's common for celebrities to endorse certain products and companies because studies have shown that us as a society tend to trust good-looking people. So now that you guys have a better understanding of how the halo effect is used as a marketing strategy and in the workplace, let's move on to our last point, how it is relevant to us as students. So it's very common for teachers to use the halo effect even if they aren't aware that they're using it. As students, our behavior is a direct reflection of our personality. So according to Rasmussen, in a 2008 article published in the Encyclopedia of Educational Psychology, Volume 1, a teacher sees a well-behaved student and might tend to assume this student is also bright, diligent, and engaged before the teacher even has the opportunity to evaluate the student in these areas. Now, like I said, the halo effect can be used on us as students, but we can also use it on teachers. When an instructor was viewed as warm and friendly, students also rated this teacher as more attractive, appealing, and likable. So now that you guys have a better understanding of the history of the halo effect, how it is prominent in everyday life, and how it's relevant to us as students, let's wrap things up. So the halo effect is a form of biased psychological evaluation, and it's important for us to understand this theory so that we have a better understanding of how we perceive others and how others perceive us. So first, we discussed a brief history of the halo effect. Second, how it is prominent in everyday life. And last, how it relates to us as students. So the next time you go to evaluate someone on their personality characteristics, whether it's their ability to be a good friend, a good teacher, or a good student, stop and ask yourself, am I evaluating this person as a whole, or am I simply basing my evaluation off of whether or not I find this person attractive? Thank you.